Welcome to Speaking Cinema, serious movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast broadcasting to you from a warehouse in a redacted location. Listen to us Jibber Jabber every single Monday. Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud. Follow us on our social media at Speaking Cinema. Rate, review, subscribe. Dedicate yourself to our cause. Devote yourself to our power. I am your host, an evil Nazi known only as Baron von Jibber Jabber. Here with me today, as always, is my leather jacket wearing, whip brandishing, two pistol holding, tenured professor and skeptic, my goddamn partner, Kevin.
I belong in a museum.
Who are we? Speaking Cinema. What's it about? We talk about a movie, then we watch it, we talk about it having had seen it. Sometimes we know it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes there's a theme, sometimes there's not a theme. Sometimes it's old, new, personal,
Sometimes
random.
Sometimes we gush, sometimes we fight.
Sometimes we hate. But what we're trying to do here is a personal exploration of the medium, destination parts unknown. Come with us. This time on the Jibber Jabber, the return of Great Adventure 1981's The Raiders of the Lost Ark. What a tagline.
It's,
The return of Great Adventure.
I mean, it was,
They knew they had a hit.
They knew it was. Everybody who reads that script just loved it, as we'll discuss.
We're cruising along here on our director buffet, looking at all of the movies of Steven Spielberg that will fit into one season, so 1/10 of his output, but
Once again, we are chipping away at it,
Yeah.
but there's no way we're getting through all of them.
well,
So,
next year we'll do part 2 on, but probably not for
kick off with Adventures of Tintin.
Nope. Directed by, no surprise here, Steven Spielberg. Written by Lawrence Kasdan, starring Harrison Ford, Karen Allen. That's it.
Those are your big stars, that's for sure.
Produced by Lucasfilm, distribution Paramount Pictures. If you're not familiar, archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis find it. That synopsis was brought to us by user Colin Tinto. Thank you, IMDb. Colin Tinto.
Thank you, Tinto.
Also, he early adopter. He's able to get Colin Tinto.
That-
Bit of background: brainchild of Steven Spielberg, came up with the idea for Adventures of Indiana Smith.
it just doesn't have the same ring to it.
You're right. It was a modern version of the film serials of the 30s and 40s that he grew up with. Not unlike Star Wars, which is a modern version of the sci-fi movies that your boy
Lucas.
grew up with.
Yep.
So, according to legend, Spielberg first heard of the Ark of the Covenant from his dentist.
Yeah.
And to that I say, I've never had a religious conversation with a dentist, let alone my own dentist.
I mean,
Strange.
you just don't have an interesting dentist, and he does.
Do you really talk about anything other than your teeth with your dentist?
My dentist, he's pretty cool, so him and I talk about lots of stuff. It's
Oh.
a small practice. It's him and his older receptionist, and like with the receptionist, I talk about. She's like, "Oh, I saw Led Zeppelin at the Forum," and it's like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" And then, I was going to Texas, and then Dad's like, "Oh, I've been to Austin. Here's all cool shit to do in Austin." So I do talk to my dentist. Have I had deep religious discussion? No.
Right. As the legend continues, in 1977, Lucas, hot off of Star Wars, Spielberg, hot off of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, both were hot in Hawaii, chilling on the beach, taking a vacation, counting the money.
Yeah, I would imagine filling the ocean with their money.
Yeah. You know, like that one beach in Hawaii where you just throw your money in the ocean.
Yeah.
They're hanging out there.
That's old Spielberg Beach.
On Spielberg Beach, as the story goes, they ran into each other. Maybe they planned it. Maybe it's a coincidence. Who cares? They got talking to him about movies. Spielberg expressed an interest in directing a James Bond movie. Lucas wanted to do something similar in the vein of something from their childhoods. He didn't want to jump into a established franchise. You know, it's all about
For
that.
sure.
The director coming up with the ideas.
And that was the 70s for you. It was all about the artist. And cocaine.
So Spielberg told Lucas his idea for Indiana Smith. Lucas says Smith is not a good idea. You know, doesn't sound cool.
Not a good name.
And so Lucas is like, what about Jones? Which is, I believe, the name of his Alaskan Malamute, the inspiration for Chewbacca.
Yep.
That dog double dipping into these franchises.
I hope he got it cut.
It's sad to know that dog's contributed more to pop culture than either of us ever will.
Smart dog. Rich dog.
So they talk about making this movie, and we're gonna do it. Lucas says, "I got stuff written for it. I'll have stuff written for it." When it came down to the sequels, he had nothing. Classic Lucas.
And it shows.
So, is any of this really true? Who knows? Unsubstantiated rumor is good enough to base my life on. This is the legend.
Isn't Hollywood all about, telling a good story?
It's about the legend of a story, right?
Yeah.
Spielberg was never like some schmuck that people were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" He was always destined for great stuff. He stuck onto the Paramount lot. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. It might have been the Universal lot, but that's a great thing to say. But when you think about wait, what does that mean? He stuck onto the lot. Nothing. You just go. What are you gonna do? Say hi to the people you know there? Okay.
Sit down and start making Sugarland Express. What's he doing?
You're gonna go to the executive dining room and start pitching? Nope.
But again, it's a good story.
According to the I Was There Too podcast, shout out, everyone got sick on the shoot except for Spielberg, who sustained on a diet of canned SpaghettiOs and other assorted bobo food. But
saved his life.
Exactly. And according to that podcast, Spielberg was aware that he was the only one who, if he got sick, then everything was going to fall apart.
Yep. So, SpaghettiOs, you were responsible for one of the...
Right.
A fine film.
Digital folklore there, you guys. Tell a friend.
There you go.
I Was There Too. Great podcast.
All right.
They shot it and they put it out. There you go. I mean, what do you want to know? It's a fucking classic.
And Larry Kasdan wrote the screenplay.
He did.
And they say everybody just raved about it. Also, I believe, first movie where Kathleen Kennedy was a producer.
Indeed,
She's
you're right.
very young, and she met Frank Marshall on this shoot.
Her once and future husband.
Yep. And now she's the most powerful woman in Hollywood. Head of Lucasfilm. So, there you go.
As of this recording, you can find this movie on Amazon, iTunes, Vudu, etc., platforms, etc. Bust out your VHS copy from your childhood that you took from Blockbuster.
Yep. DVD, Blu-ray. I believe the Blu-ray you have to buy all of them, though. I don't think you can get them separately. I could be wrong.
Oh, is that one big pack?
Yeah. I could be wrong, though.
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
Maybe. Kev, what is your past with this movie?
So, I've definitely, much like E.T., I've definitely seen it when I was a kid, but never had a close connection to it the way so many other people have. And I've definitely seen all the other Indiana Jones movies, knew about Indiana Jones, liked the character, loved that Disneyland ride. I remember riding
it. Man, that ride is great.
It's a great ride, and we went down, my family and I took a vacation to Disneyland, when it first opened, and it was really cool, and the line took forever, but it was worth it, because it's a great ride.
A tradition that goes on till this very day.
To this day.
It's a great ride. It's a great ride. I'd say that's my favorite ride there.
It's one of them. No doubt.
What else you got? Star Tours?
Star Tours is pretty good, the revamped Star Tours. And Splash Mountain is always fun.
Negative.
Enjoy that. What? How can you not like Splash Mountain?
I like my ride to have a equidistant amount of storytelling and ride, and that is all ride and no storytelling. First things first, right?
Sure.
They hadn't figured it out yet. And also, it's you just I don't know, the drop. You feel like you're gonna fucking flip out of it. Just I don't know. Don't like it.
It's the best thing Disneyland ever produced. California Screaming. Great roller coaster.
You know that there used to be people at Disneyland that their full-time job, or their full part-time job, their full shift, I should say, was looking at the photos of Splash Mountain and deleting the
ones with titties.
Yeah.
And I heard there was a website at one point where somebody...
Flash Mountain.
That was... And he posted those.
In the early days of the internet, we're talking 98 here, people. That website was known.
You got on Netscape Navigator and found that website.
Yep. and apparently there was a girl who got busy with herself on the monorail. Monorail.
Monorail.
Is that the monorail? The one that goes to the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the monorail.
Yeah. Man. Got busy.
I'm sure there's a Polaroid somewhere in someone's closet of someone getting busy on the People Mover.
I bet so.
But what can you do?
That's my 70s funk album, Getting Busy on the People Mover.
Fuck yeah. That's good. I think definitely the first Back to the USA Network. I feel like every episode I write always has to involve the USA Network.
You watched a lot of USA Network back in those days.
I certainly did.
As you do when you live in the burbs or a small town, and you got those Sundays, and mom's doing her thing, and dad's busy. It's like you watch TBS and TNT and the USA Network.
So the first one I remember seeing of the Indiana Jones was the one with Sean Connery, Last Crusade, which a lot of people don't like, and I love.
I think it's a good film.
I think it's fantastic, and I think their chemistry is great.
Oh yeah, big time.
I don't remember as a kid ever seeing Temple of Doom, and I have vague memories of this Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
and I don't think as a kid Indiana Jones was not really a thing. We were really into Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? Like we went through every VHS at Blockbuster and Hollywood Video of Godzilla.
Yeah.
So at some point I've probably seen every Godzilla movie.
And I was definitely big time into Star Wars.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's Indiana Jones, I knew about it. I didn't have any strong feelings either way, but I knew the character, liked the ride, liked the aesthetic, knew the theme song. You know, everybody knows the Indiana Jones theme, so.
And again, in high school, I dressed up as Indiana. I must have seen it in high school at some point because I dressed up as Indiana Jones for Halloween one time, which ended up just being me in a hat.
Yeah.
Because this is
pretty straightforward costume.
And this is back in the day before the internet was the glorious thing that it is now, where if you typed in Indiana Jones costume, you'd get like a proto Amazon link to some khaki pants, and an eBay link to a $1,000 Indiana Jones style jacket that when you bought it you just get an 8x10 of it or something.
Yep.
So yeah. Then I watched them all in college and loved them, and they're all great. So that
sounds about right.
That's me and the franchise. I think usually sometimes when we talk about franchise, we like to rank them, but I feel like it obviously goes this one, Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then
Last Crusade,
and then Temple of Doom, and then Crystal Skull.
There's getting hit by a car, and then Crystal Skull.
And I might like Last Crusade a little bit better than this one. Maybe.
Interesting. We'll revisit that.
Maybe.
So we'll get there.
Do you like the action adventure genre?
Absolutely. It's, we talked about Munich earlier in this season. Very dark, very heavy film. You got to get away every now and then. And these are the perfect little getaway movies. They're worlds that only exist in a movie world, and you can just have fun for 2 hours, They're great. They're always fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and it's kind of nicely transitioning into what our expectations are here. And I'm just looking for a good time, just like a fun adventure.
And does it hold up as well as so many people have said it's held up? So Steven Soderbergh put out a video online, and it was just Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it was black and white, and the only soundtrack was music from 2001: A Space Odyssey, I believe. But he did it as a way to be focus on Spielberg's editing and his shot choices. And he tells you that's why Raiders of the Lost Ark is such a brilliant film. So it was this experiment that he did.
Interesting.
So it's to this day inspiring some of the top filmmakers.
Is it? Can you? I mean, did he put that out publicly online, or did he?
Yeah, you can watch it. It's on Vivo, I believe, or Vimeo. One of the two.
I would think that Paramount would be take that down.
Yeah, I mean, he'd put it up there. I saw it on Slash Film one day, so it's out there.
While we're talking, I would like to see also Eric Foreman from That 70s Show, that actor's name.
Oh yeah, Topher Grace.
He recut the first the prequel Star Wars movies
to be one movie.
Yeah,
so the Phantom Edit is it.
I would like to see that.
I'd be interested.
I'd be interested to see how that would fit together. I'd imagine he just cut him off the Blu-ray, so he doesn't have the audio stem. So there's gonna be a lot of weird.
It's gonna be it's not gonna be completely polished, but it's probably an interesting look into improving those.
So we gotta meet Topher Grace somehow, or someone who knows him, or someone who has a copy of that.
Yep.
Is there anything else before we jaunt over to Indiana Jones?
I'm just ready to jaunt in. Swing my whip and have a fun time.
Let's swing into it. Here we go. We're back.
We're back.
Kev, when and how and why did you watch it?
I got why did I watch it? Because you told me I had to.
Yeah, on assignment.
I got the DVD from Netflix. It wasn't available on Blu-ray on Netflix. I found that puzzling. But regardless,
not even very long wait.
No, it wasn't. Usually you get that drop-down menu of you can pick DVD or Blu-ray. That was not an option.
Paramount not playing ball. Not playing ball.
So that's what makes me think you got to buy the whole set to have all the movies. So they probably wouldn't give them the individual movies on Blu-ray. I don't know. Regardless, I watched it on DVD.
All right. I also watched it on DVD. Got it from the library. Very
nice.
And I just want to know here. I had a very extended and bizarre THX logo on my disc.
Oh, was it
with a bunch of flowers?
Yeah, I had that too.
I was like, what is this? Also, there is a Blu-ray, so I don't know. Whatever. The flowers, and it was just like, this is bizarre.
I remember that. They used to do that on some older DVDs where, really elaborate THX and Dolby intros.
Well, it's also a Lucasfilm thing, and that's his company, so I bet they're like, it's, give him the moon and the stars.
Yep.
What'd you think?
It's a fun movie. I like it a lot. Kept me completely enthralled the whole time. Some special effects haven't quite held up, but, it's part of its 80s charm. And he's a dashing hero, and it's a lean, mean, fun time at the movies. I enjoyed it.
I mean, I don't want to talk about his other movies during this podcast necessarily. There's this season we're doing Munich and Jaws and
War Horse, Minority Report.
I don't want to. I don't want to talk about them specifically, but I'll just say this is probably in his top echelon of movies. Mm-hmm. This is a highly watchable movie. There's nary a dull minute, even when they're talking about, the shot. It's like there's scenes where it's four guys, in suits talking, and you're like, okay, normally this is, where people will probably check out.
Yeah.
And you're in it. This is a fantastic movie that holds up well. Some stuff doesn't hold up completely. You know what I mean? It's like,
I think the climax kind of goes a little overboard
on
the
interesting
80s effects.
Oh, interesting.
But you still get the melting skull, and it looks great.
It's a really a great thing.
It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize the film debut of Alfred Molina, the great character actor.
Oh yeah,
he's in the beginning
in brownface.
In brownface. Well, I think he's Mexican.
In real life, no, he's like Italian.
Oh, but he definitely has darker skin.
He does. So,
but yeah, they darken him up a little bit. So, but
distasteful.
First movie with Alfred Molina.
Do you try to justify that by saying that was the style of the time? His blackface was popular when these movies would have been made, so it's okay.
If Alec Guinness did it, it's anybody could do it.
What'd he do it in?
Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, he's total brownface in that.
Wow.
Yep.
Distasteful. Let's talk about this opening scene. So good.
Uh-huh. It tells you everything you need to know.
And if anyone is confusing the movies, or perhaps this is the scene where he is going in for the idol, there's a rolling ball, betrayal, and then running away from natives as they go to the boat. The storytelling, visual storytelling, is next level.
Uh-huh.
Indy with the idol, like he knows it's booby trapped, and he understands how it works, right? Because he has the idol, he has the bag of sand, and he even takes some of the sand out of it.
That's a key moment where we see him pull this thing out, and he hasn't said, I'm going to put this so it weighs the same amount. It's just we pull it out, it's like, oh, what's he got? And then, he kind of looks at it, dumps a little sand out, and then that's where you're going, oh, he's going to put that on there because it's the same weight. And, you do that in, 2 shots.
And and what's great is that he knew what the problem was, and it's still too heavy.
Yep.
Because it moves the thing down.
Uh-huh. It's so good. Yeah, it's... it shows you that he's resourceful. He's smart. He's seen a lot of these booby traps before. So he's got experience, but he's not completely infallible. It's not an exact science that he's doing. And it just sets him up so easily and gets that character down in just such a short amount of time.
Right. And then once he's trying to escape the place, the pacing of the action is so good to the point of you realize that other people, when they shoot their action scenes, they're doing an imitation of this, right? Because they come back to the thing that they swung over, and, give me the idol, give me the whip, and then I'll give you the idol. And then he doesn't give it to him. Indy takes one step back and then leaps. There's no like, go back to the door. Oh, is the door? No. Okay. Run. Do the sign of the cross. Wipe the sweat off my brow. Yep. Jump. It just jumps. He just jumps, and it's just like that's so great. The boulder. You think that they would be preambling the shit out of that thing? He's just running down the hallway, and all of a sudden there's a gigantic boulder behind him.
Yep.
Out of nowhere. That's masterful. Mm-hmm. It's really superb.
And then they set it up with there's the one booby trap that he points out, and then as Alfred Molina is running away, we find him, and that's the booby trap that killed him. Basically, it's like just those little setups too are great.
And also, I think I like Spielberg when he's at his goriest, because this movie is not afraid, man.
No, there's the big Nazi dude gets chopped up by a propeller, and blood goes.
We don't see him getting chopped up, but we see the blood go.
You see, a huge chunk of blood go on the screen and on the Nazi symbol on the plane, and it's like. Wow, that was a vicious death.
People get shot in the face. People get all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, everybody's getting chopped up. And then, the ending, his face melts off and his eyes pop out. It's... Spielberg can do gore. He's not afraid.
Spielberg, make that horror movie. I just want to say, like, it's all over this first scene, but it's really throughout the whole thing. There's no overselling, no overly big wind up and nothing. It's always the action is just like it's really good, and that's the thing you think wouldn't hold up. It'd be like the action, but the action holds up.
I mean, almost every action movie is borrowing something from this. Just how kinetic it is, and how he kind of keeps raising the stakes in all the set pieces. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's her name? Marion. Is that her name?
The girl in dress? Yeah, Marion. Yeah.
So Marion's like hiding in the big basket. And it's like, oh, but that basket gets taken. Now Marion's riding along with the Nazis. Now she's got to get out. And then it's just all these different elements that he keeps throwing new stuff in there. And that's how every action scene goes these days. At least all the good ones. Mm-hmm. You just raising the stakes in a logical way. And then there's like really simple suspense scenes. Like we know the dates are poisoned. And then it's... Indy's like grabs one of the dates, is about to eat it. Solid tells him something. He doesn't eat the date. And then they find out because the monkey eats the date. It's like just these little moments that, like you said, even the little scenes you're just enthralled with because they have these things in them.
Mm-hmm. Because, it's one of these things where it's my love of quote unquote genre cinematography of movies is like when they're talking like Indiana Jones, like master of the occult, and you're like master of the occult. Whoa, what? Like like I don't know. I just feel like they find it's just a nicely peppered dish.
It is, and I think a big part of this, what really makes him a unique hero, is the whip and the way they use his whip. That's such a not an everyday weapon. Most of the time, be a gun or a sword. But he uses it in lots of different ways. So, he doesn't... He's not a no-kill guy, but you tell he doesn't really want to hurt people, especially the native people. But the whip is a perfect thing to, like, disarm somebody, grab something, but then he also uses it as, he can swing on it, and then he can...
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool of many uses.
And online, there's this thing that got released that was like a 2 or 3 hour... tape session between the writer and Lucas and Spielberg, and they're talking about the whip, and they're talking about everything. But they're talking about ideas for the whip, and someone is like, he should whip the girl and like bring her in, and he's like, no, the whip is only for enemies, Yeah. And there's such a good balance of what he does and doesn't do with the whip. Mm-hmm. Also, I was surprised to see like a lot of the whip stuff is implied. You'll see his hand flick it, and then you'll see what it already hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they got a master whip guy and did all one takes of him whipping something and throwing it to him. It's like, you see his hand whipping it, you see the thing already wrapped, and you heard it wrap around it, and you see it already wrapped, and then you see his hand pull it again, and then it's in his hand, and it's like, oh, you guys just totally did that the easy way.
Mm-hmm. But it's so effective every time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just I think that's one of the best decisions they made, is just give him this whip. Now, he still has a gun. Of course, there's the famous scene with the dude with a huge sword, and he's ready to face him down, and he's just like, fuck you, and just blasts him, which apparently was brought on because everybody had malaria or the flu, and he's like, "Why don't I just shoot this guy?" It's like, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's just, God, it's fun.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that's a fun moment. It's a fun solution where he's just like...
And it tells you so much about that character. He's not going to dick around. Like you said, he just jumps over the chasm. He just shoots the guy. It's like, he doesn't have time for all this bullshit. You know?
Indeed.
He's just going to do it.
Taking one step back, what do you think, like, it's in that style of serials, which is one of those things where... As a culture, you have some sort of built-in knowledge of that, even though none of us have watched serials in any kind of extended way, which I find all very bizarre. Like we all know what film noir is, but how many of us have ever deep dived into film noir? Very few.
I have.
Well, save that for maybe we'll do some, because I want to watch some stuff. I'm saying, like, the average Joe probably has not seen.
Oh yeah, they know what the aesthetic is, but I guarantee you they haven't seen Maltese Falcon or Touch of Evil or something like that.
Right. So like, style-wise, they have the map, where the map and there's the line they get drawn on it, and you see images of them like on the plane or on a boat or whatever. Do you think that holds up?
I think so.
I think so too.
It absolutely. It captures an aesthetic of the time period they're in, and then just completely of the time period they're trying to emulate. So it's, I don't know, it works for this story. Now, if something like, if they did that in the Bourne Identity, that wouldn't work, It's like, well, Bourne's got to get to Munich, and then not gonna work. But
him reading a Robert
a Ludlum book,
on the plane. Huh? What the fuck?
But yeah, within the style and time frame of this movie, it works. And I like it because it is a completely self-contained world. This world could not exist, does not exist outside the four walls of the frame. And that's something I really like about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
It just is its own thing.
No.
Not even informed by anything else.
Well, it's informed by a little bit. I mean, like, the Nazis were interested in artifacts, art, and the occult. So it's like you take that little gem of a thing, and you try to make this plot around it. It's so good.
And it's simple villains with simple motivations. It's just this guy he's just a sharp dressed Nazi who he's not dumb, and he knows how to get what he wants, and he's just a thorn in Indy's side the whole time.
Well, what's great though, and it kind of takes us back to the action, is that everyone is breakable in this movie, right? So it's like it's easy to make the hero. In a bad movie, it's easy to make the hero, goddamn Chuck Norris, where he never gets hurt.
Yeah.
And it's easy in a good movie to make the bad guy, goddamn Chuck Norris, where he never gets hurt, right? But in this, like, when they're fighting in Tibet, the bad guy takes a bullet, and the rest of the movie is like walking with a limp. Like he's like very badly injured.
Yep.
And that's I think that's like one of those next level, like, what takes something from good to great, you know what I mean? Where it's like, he gets shot, he falls on the table, and he tries to get the coin, and it burns his hand. And then later, you see him, and his arm's kind of taped up, and he's kind of has a cane or whatever, and it's just, that's that little bit more that makes it such a great movie over, everything that ripped this off.
Yeah, like Sahara with Matt McConaughey, that kind of movie. It doesn't have those little bits.
Which, and it's like, listen, if you're going to try to be something, try to be the best thing, right? So Sahara, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
But that's why Sahara is Sahara and Raiders is Raiders.
And just a nice little quirk, too. We've established Indy is a smart, tough dude, very resourceful, seen it all. But he doesn't like snakes. He can't handle snakes, like, even in the slightest. And that's just such a funny little quirk.
Yeah.
And then they keep playing it up. It's like he runs into one snake. Oh, I hate snakes. Falls into a pit of snakes. Fuck! I can be in a pit of snakes. But then knows how to, like, work his way around the pit of snakes, too. Like, he has his fears, but he doesn't completely succumb to them. So, but it's interesting the little limitations they give him.
And, it's interesting in that context is that, a trope of all Western media is like the woman in danger. Yep. We were talking about this over tacos the other day, right?
Yeah.
It's always Batman has to save Batgirl from the Joker. Never joke. It's very rarely does Batgirl ever save Batman from the Joker.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the girl Marion keeps getting taken, right? But they also pay that back where she saves him a bunch of times too. So it's weird. It's a weird thing of they are definitely going to the well, right? She gets taken in. Oh, she almost gets taken in Tibet. They fight that off, but they fight it off together. She's about to get branded. Indy saves her. Indy's fighting with the guys. She's going around flanking everyone, hitting them with bottles and pans and shooting dudes and being a badass bitch. You know what I mean? And then. But then she gets taken, and it's just a weird thing of her trying to save herself, and it being a modern story, but also dipping back to the simpler time kind of stuff.
And she's not helpless, obviously.
She is not helpless. That's the takeaway.
She can put away whiskey like a champ. That's why she's my kind of girl.
We'll get to her problem drinking in a minute.
But then,
there's also a great moment in that fight in Tibet where the Nazi guy is like, shoot them both. And then the Tibetan, random thug stops fighting with Indy and tries to attack the Nazi guy. He's like, hey, wait a minute. You son of a bitch.
That is good.
Yeah, that bar fight is pretty sublime.
But then there's a scene where she puts on the dress and she's in that dress and she knows how to work her femininity just enough to get what she needs out of the French dude, the weird French guy who's hitting on her.
Who I wanted him to redeem himself.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
There's another version of this movie where he joins their crew.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. A little Indiana Jones marrying a little French sidekick.
Yeah. And then you don't have to he could kind of come in and out of the movies where he's like, I'll meet you in Transylvania. I'll take the train. You guys, take the plane, and their plane gets shot down or whatever, and then he meets them. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't always have to be there, just for the key stuff.
Well, I mean, they kind of have that character in Sala too, because he comes up in the later movies. The great John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know who else he played? He's Gimli in Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
That was John Rhys Davies. No joke.
The Gimli is the
dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's him. That's Sala.
Is he still alive?
Oh yeah, he's still around.
Why wasn't he in? They kill him off for the Crystal Skull?
I don't think he's ever in Crystal Skull.
I think they say he's dead in it.
That's too bad.
I thought he did this because to make that movie just worse.
I know. It's how do you not put Sala in it? Anyways, but yeah, he was Gimli in the Lord of the Rings films.
I want to talk about two action scenes really quick. The fight near the plane.
Yep. Is
so good. And again, it's they're working together, right? Indy's fist fighting the dude, she's taking out the gunner and the pilot, and then eventually it gets to the point where Marion is shooting everyone, and they're helping each other because Indy's about to get flanked by all these Nazis coming in, and she just starts shooting them all. Also, the look she gives the camera after hitting the dude with the little thing, the little triangle thing, the door stopper that stops the wheel. The look that she gives after she hits him, and she kind of smiles or whatever. It's just that is just ugh, that's so charming.
It is. And then I like that it shows that there's all
parking block is the name of that thing.
A parking block, exactly. It also shows that the Nazis have many different weapons at their disposal. They got, because most of the villains we've seen are kind of these, standard Nazi who is very thin and very sharply dressed. But then they got this big bruiser dude just out of nowhere. It's like a video game type progression. And it's just fun.
Totally.
There's all kinds of different things.
He's the Goro of this movie.
He's Goro. And Indy is just okay, I guess I'm fighting this dude. And has to bare knuckle fight this fucking brick wall of a man.
And the choreography of that is so good where, the pilot's going to shoot Indy. And then you see him at the last second, pull the gun back, and then the big dude's head comes into frame. He doesn't want to shoot his buddy.
Yep.
And just that moment is just, that worked on me so well. Where I'm and then he moves out of the way at the last second. It just works.
Well, in the way they show him, he sees the propeller going, and you just see him register this guy doesn't quite understand the space of where he's in. So how can I lure Big Bruiser Dude into the propeller? And then the whole fight shifts around to Indy trying to do that. So it's just those little tiny things are just so masterfully done. And it's, what most movies would take 4 or 5 cuts to get through, they do it in a look.
Right.
It's just very impressive.
And I realized from this movie, so the plane springs a leak and eventually catches on fire and explodes. So what's great is they get Marion out of the fires. There's a fire, and then the water, the gasoline is moving towards the fire, and they're trying to get the thing open, trying to get the cockpit open, and then the fire catches and is heading back towards the plane. They finally get it open. Cut to a wide shot of them just fucking hauling ass away, and then the plane just goes up in a gigantic fireball, and that also affected me. And I realized when stuff falls over in movies, or falls over or explodes, I really don't have any feeling about it. It doesn't really, that there's like not really stakes to this, and I feel like for some reason that just hit me really hard. And it goes back to what you're saying about the editing and shot thing from the black and white version that
Soderbergh
put up. It's like I think this movie is just exceptionally well visually storytelling made, and
absolutely.
As such, that's why it sucks people in. Because on paper, it's like, how is this really different than the Matthew McConaughey movie?
Not really. A guy goes on an adventure looking for treasure.
Right. That's what it is.
It has to beat bad guys.
But it's the execution of it that is, I think, so pitch perfect. Also, that Jeep chase, I forgot how great that is.
That's the next thing I was going to talk about. And again, showing the versatility of the whip. He can do all kinds of different shit with it. And it saves his life. He's got to hook onto the back, and he's getting dragged, and then he can pull himself on it, and then pull himself up, and God, it's good.
And when Indy's kind of a vicious dude. Like the guy tosses him out of the Jeep when he gets back, and he tosses the other guy out of the Jeep. He's like, "Fuck you,"
Exactly. Indy don't take no shit.
Also, when the Jeep goes off the cliff, it's clearly like stop motion or whatever it is. But there's a little detail that extra thing on top, right, where the dudes in the Jeep fly out of the Jeep, and they're just kind of like free falling through the air. And that extra little thing where it's not toys in a car going off a cliff, it's actually animated so that they find separation from it. You know what I mean? That's what makes it.
And it's usually all it takes in a scene like that. Because if you just have that one element, it's like, oh, that's a toy car going over a model thing. But if you just add that one little human element, like our brain just puts it together.
Yes. Exactly.
You don't need to do much. It's not adding more CGI or a more detailed model. It's like, give us something else to latch onto, and then we just buy it. We don't even think about it. And that's very hard to pull off.
Indeed. I mean, totally,
There's a thing I read online a while ago, and some basement dweller was saying, like, Indy has no effect on the plot.
I was gonna get to this!
All right.
Good.
I think that's garbage. I think that's a garbage theory.
The idea is that Indy... I think this is actually a strength of the movie. The idea is that Indy is trying to find the Ark before the Nazis and stop them from opening it, using it, etc. And the idea is that in a normal movie, he would either destroy the Ark so they don't get it, or he would destroy them before they got to it, or before they could use it, or he would find it before them and they wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
In this movie, if Indy said no to the U.S. government, the argument is the same thing would have happened. They would have gone to the Egypt, they would have found it somehow, and then they would open it and it would have killed them. Yep. What do you make of that?
But I don't think they would have found it because Indy's the one who finds the scepter that pinpoints it, right?
Yeah.
And then they use what he found as a way to actually pinpoint where the Ark is, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not.
That's right.
So and then Indy, he like decimates some of their forces, and so I think he leads them straight to the Ark in a way. But then, the climax of the movie is that they think they've absolutely won, but then they don't. It's their own hubris that brings them down.
Okay, perfectly said with the hubris line, because the villains are Nazis, right? They could have been the Japanese, they could have been a cult, could have been rich guys, could have been anything, right? I think a lot of times when people are dissecting movies, they're like, no, it had to be the Nazis because but this movie is of someone's imagination. This doesn't have to take place during World War II. This doesn't have to. That could have been in the 80s, right?
It could be in modern times, and you call it Uncharted, and you make a video game series out of it.
So all of these are choices. So I do think there is, and I have not thought this out in any fleshed out way, but I think there is a idea of a good guy tries to do something good, inadvertently, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, inadvertently leads the people that he's trying to defeat to their goal, but corruption defeats itself sometimes, right? Or they are too corrupt to have something like this, and it ends up destroying themselves.
Yeah.
And is that not a commentary on the Nazis, right? It's like
they couldn't wait to bring it back to Germany. They just had to open it as soon as they got it.
Right. And it's you look at the downfall of the Nazis, right? I mean, a lot of it was the Allies fighting back, of course. But Hitler, a student of the Napoleonic game, right?
Yep.
What happened to Napoleon? He went to Russia in the wintertime, and if there's anything we've learned from history is don't invade Russia in the wintertime.
Unless you're Attila the Hun.
Even then.
The only guy, and he didn't do a very good job.
Even then. But yeah, so the same thing happened to Hitler, right? Where it's like, we go there, they do what they always do. They set up the blockade, and then they let you come in. And then they set it up, and they let you come in. And by the time it gets to winter, your fortress freezes to death because you're not prepared. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying...
And then part of it was also brought down because Hitler was so paranoid, too, to a point where he started getting paranoid about his own people. So... we can thank part of that for ending World War II, that he was just so eccentric and so scared of everybody that he just locked himself in his bunker,
Right. And so I think that part of the commentary on this ending is, the unjust get their due. You know what I mean?
But I just don't buy that if Indy wasn't there, that's exactly what would have happened. Because he's just such a thorn in their side the whole time, and then they just have to open the Ark as soon as they get it and make Indy watch it. You know, like, look at us, we succeeded.
Which he doesn't. He closes his eyes.
Yep, smart move.
How did he know how to do that?
I bet it probably ties into the beginning when they're talking about the Ark. I bet there's something in there. I'd have to watch it again, but yeah, I bet. And he's a professor. He knows stuff.
So I do think that part of it is the idea that these guys are hoisted by their own petard because they're fucking assholes, and the center cannot hold with something like that, and this is a personification to do that with ghosts and demons and divine power, the way I prefer Munich.
Boy.
Shots fired. The effects hold up?
I think for the most part they do. That last scene... I chalk it up to just charm of 80s movies, but by today's standards, that effect doesn't hold up very well. It's just not even very good superimposing of the ghosts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think you can totally live without the ghost. The face melting is just fine.
Okay, so the laser, when he's digging, when the sun hits the thing and it makes the laser, that effect holds up miraculously.
That is very cool.
And you think that would look like shit, but it does not.
They can look like some Tron laser,
So that's one end of the spectrum. The face melting is so brutal that it works. It's a bizarre effect. You can totally tell that they melted something and then they sped up the film.
Yeah.
Because the way the glasses fall, it's like they fall suddenly and then. But it's so brutal because no one since then even has really gone to face melting in that same way.
Yeah.
It's
not even close.
So it's very brutal.
Melting is a very hard effect to pull off, and it's a very graphic effect if you're like melting skin or something. It is. Yeah, nobody really does it.
I always thought it was weird though, even as a kid, how the guy with the glasses' face melts different than the other guys' faces.
Yeah, true.
But who cares?
Let's get a few different face melts in there. It's more fun that way. It would be fun if everybody melted the same way.
So that's the middle, and if that's the middle, I mean that's the middle is really on the good side, right?
Yeah.
The other end of it is the ghost, which is just a bunch of bobo nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
They look like, I feel like you could have. I'm like, someone must have promised something, and then just something happened, right? Because it's like they don't even look.
They don't even look like they're part of the same universe.
And then when the ghost face changes, it's like. It's almost as if you just took two static images that are not really the same, and you faded between them.
Yeah.
So why is the other one so zoomed in and the other one's not zoomed in? It's like, ooh.
Yeah, it's just not the best lot. But it doesn't kill that scene either.
No, it doesn't.
The intensity stays up, and we can see a melted face.
And it's a gory movie, man. It's missing from modern movies.
It's I'm almost shocked to say this movie's PG-13. You know, actually, it's probably PG.
No, it's PG because PG-13 was because of the next one.
Yeah, it was a Poltergeist. So.
Poltergeist and
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
So this is PG.
Man.
But
yeah, I mean, a guy gets chopped up with a propeller. People get shot. Faces melt.
And blood, lots of blood.
Lots of blood. Yeah, I mean, but I feel like we can, especially this day and age, we can handle it. You know? We can have a little, I don't know. I don't want to say we're getting too sissy, but it's...
Well, it's weird. No, but it's weird.
I think we live in a world where we can, like, that's not something that is just strictly in the movies. Like, some people live that day to day in countries that get bombed and are raided by terrorists and stuff.
Well,
like that.
there's a weird thing that's going on where movies have become much more bloodless and TV has gotten a lot more gory.
Oh, yeah.
Because you look at, like, shout out actually to the Canon podcast, because they were talking about how you look at the movie Seven, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Seven is basically Criminal Minds every week now, right?
Yeah,
what was
People's
the most
faces are cut off?
Yeah, what was the most extreme movie of like 1990 whatever?
95
is now weekly procedurals.
That's CSI.
Even Bones is a gory show. Bones is gory as fuck.
Yep,
Bones
it's absolutely all of that. Like really, I wonder if it's just because it's thought of as not being like artistic and kind of gratuitous, and you can put it in a procedural show, you know, and that's looked down upon.
It's weird. I think people are much more sensitive to what they'll go out for as opposed to what they'll stay in for, right?
Yeah,
it's my pornography theory, right? It's like people love to watch the craziest, grossest things that they would never share with their loved ones or whatever, pornography on the comfort of their own phone. But, you know, the idea of like going to a live sex show or like even a strip club.
Masturbating in a porn theater.
Yeah, like, no way.
What a criminal.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's a weird, we live in a weird society where it's like, well, what's the difference, right? Everyone's doing it. It's like, well, we don't talk about it.
Yep.
So it's like Game of Thrones, right? You can watch a topless woman cut up a baby, and everyone's like, evocative.
Hey, that's two different scenes. Topless lady and then baby getting eaten.
And then, you know, when you go to the movies, it's like, Captain America can't get a bloody nose. I mean, that would just be impropriety. You know what I mean? So it's just a weird, I think it's a cultural thing.
Strange, iconic. Even Mad Men had some gore in it in season 3.
So I think...
they're driving a lawnmower around the office and someone trips and gets their foot cut off. Ugh. Blood sprays everywhere. Ugh. It's pretty impressive.
So I think that eventually it'll probably even itself out. Like, I think that will come... I think as the blockbuster thing changes to a more personal... artistic movie, you know, like as of this recording, The Nice Guys came out this weekend. We went and saw it. I think that kind of movie is in this vein.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can kind of have your cake and eat it too.
But then there's like movies like, do you ever see The Bank Job?
No.
Like that movie is just like, it's super super gory, and it's like it's just in kind of bad taste. Or something like Green Room is super gory, but I feel like that really works.
Yeah, but to a point of it being just visceral and nasty, and like this is the only way we can even survive.
Right. Maybe people just like seeing right now people like seeing uncomfortable things in the joy of their own home. They want comfortable things when they go out.
Yeah, you don't want to experience that with a crowd. Although Green Room with a crowd, fantastic.
Was fantastic. Good crowd. I want to talk about there's racially, I think this movie kind of walks a thin line, because it's definitely like evil foreigners with bad teeth and bad intentions mixed with like kind of, what's that guy's name? Salad?
Sala.
Sala is like, you know, the opposite, right? Where he's a good Egyptian.
Yep.
But then it's like, still, like in Egypt, apparently you could just murder people willy-nilly and like abduct women on the street. You know what I mean? Like, and people seem to have no problem with this. So it's like, it does walk a weird racial line.
True.
Sala, I think, does... Without Sala, I think this movie would really cross over into some unflavorful fucking water.
For sure. You're getting to American Sniper territory of how you view brown people.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything about this movie that just really doesn't work for you?
Not really. Like I said, every moment just absolutely sings with something. You know, the only part again, it doesn't work is just those Bobo ghosts, but it doesn't kill that scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a classic scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the ghosts don't look that good.
As a kid, I did not understand that drinking scene when we first meet Marion, and as an adult, I still don't understand that drinking scene with Marion.
You're displaying your prowess at consuming alcohol. You ever tried to drink somebody under the table?
I mean, I think we both know I have not.
Yeah, that's just a classic, like, especially against a petite woman. If a petite woman comes up to some big fat dude and is like, I can drink you under the table, you gotta take that challenge.
Speaking of weird what the fuck moments, when Indy and Marion get in an argument, she's like, what was wrong with you? I was a child. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened between you two?
Yeah.
And how old were you?
I guess I didn't think about that moment too much.
That moment was like a slap in the face. I'm like, whoa! And like the way she's selling it is as if, like, I would assume that the actress in her mind had that story fleshed out. It seems dark.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't think
that you mention it in that context.
I don't think Indiana Jones hooked up with a 9-year-old girl, but I mean, it seems like maybe she was like a teenager.
Yep.
It's weird because
a little Jodie Foster and Taxi Driver action.
Exactly, and it's weird because it's only after World War II that the concept of being a teenager becomes a thing.
Yeah,
because teenagers is invented with rock and roll and
because in
white people found rock and roll, and then we invented teenagers for them to listen to it.
Because up to World War II, it's like you get out of high school and you join the army or you join the Marines and you go fight. So
or you just work or whatever.
Yeah, you just work on Grandpappy's farm.
Well, but also in the cities, right? I mean, like pre World War II, we don't have any like laws against child labor, right? That's like all the 20s and stuff, right?
Yep.
So it's like there's just this weird. There's really weird, that's a really weird moment that they do not explain and never touch again in the series, to my knowledge, and I just don't know what to think about that.
Let's keep it that way.
But then it's even more fucked up. Let me ruin it for you a little bit more. It's even more fucked up because, so he gets with Marion, then Temple of Doom happens, so he's with another woman.
Yep.
And then the events of this movie happen, right? So how young was she?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, man. It's weird. One thing that I found in the movie that was a deep flaw, when they catch his Egyptian friend Sala helping Indy, in the with the snake pit area, they take him in. There's a bunch of Egyptian dudes who diggers, Sala and Indy. And they're digging this thing, and then they only punish Indy, and they let the rest of them go.
Man, it's true.
What do they think happened?
I don't know. Sala's probably has enough connections in there that he wiggled his way out.
I mean, I guess they could be like, this guy said help us out, and we said okay, but I don't know. I feel like that was really weird. They're just like, cool, yeah, you can go. We're Nazis. We're cool with you. Also, Marion is always drinking, always talking about drinking, always talking about where are we gonna get her another drink. Even when she's like being attacked by people, she's like talking about drinking. In the end of the movie, she's like, let's go get a drink. I think Marion
she's functioning alcoholic. Get some help, Marion. Quit trying to drink shady Tibetans under the table.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's wrap this up. Do you have any nitpicks or anything?
I think I got most of mine out.
I just want to say the opening gag is great, but bugs are gross. Bugs are gross.
What do you think about the snake pit, though? What's your feeling on big piles of reptiles?
They're not gross, but they're not gross.
Piles of reptiles. There's not.
I did like that. And snakes are poisonous snakes, man. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, terrifying.
In the beginning, he puts his hand in the light, and then a bunch of darts shoot out. What are these magical darts?
Yeah,
And he's like, he spends the movie saying...
They have a boulder in the ceiling. I bet they figured out dart technology.
I'm just saying, the movie is about Indy going from being a non-believer to a believer. He always talks about, Wrath of God or some mumbo-jumbo, right? But it's like, how do you explain the light? You fucking put your hand through a beam of light and an arrow shot at you.
It's not... God isn't shooting an arrow through the thing. They have some kind of elaborate system. The light... There's probably a mirror.
Those ancient South Americans really figured out lasers.
They put a boulder in the roof. They can figure things out.
I mean, a boulder's pretty simple. I mean, you just throw it up there. I mean,
It's big.
all right.
And the roof didn't fall down.
In the opening scene, when he gets to the plane, it's a 2-seater plane. Where were the rest of the guys gonna go?
True.
I mean, luckily they're dead now. But Abel in college, what the fuck?
What?
He's teaching that college class in the beginning, and a bell rings and everyone leaves.
Oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
And it's like, a bell?
and like in every single movie that shows a classroom, if it's that close to the end of class, nobody's sitting there not putting their shit away.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone has everything buttoned up, the bag's open, just when he tosses it and go.
And yeah, there are definitely no bells in college because classes start at all hours of the day. You can't just have a bell going.
Marion drinks that guy on the table and is instantly sober for the next scene.
She's a champ, man.
Yeah, she's just... That liver is working overtime. Where the fuck did Indy hide in the U-boat?
Laundry room? I don't know. He found a spot.
And then when they're fighting in the square and they're beating up some Egyptian dudes, Marion is hitting a guy with a metal box, and in the medium shot, it just looks like the phony baloney is phony baloney.
Is it like a rubber metal box?
No, she's just like slowly doing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know. We're kind of running along here.
I got too swept up in it to think about any of that stuff.
I'll keep my moments of awesome short. Professor of anthropology, expert in the occult, obtainer of rare antiquities. I wish one day someone would legitimately refer to me in that same way. I just wish for that. Corpses in the tomb scream when they first discover them.
Yep.
Down with that. I like how when he's searching for Marion and all the big gigantic bins, he just knocks them over.
Just knocking them over.
He's like, fuck it.
One of them's gonna be heavy enough.
A fucking monkey dimes him out to a one-eyed bandit. That's my kind of movie.
There you go.
And I'm your goddamn partner. That what a great line.
Yep.
I'm your goddamn partner. Also, a weird thing that is neither cool nor lame, and I feel like I've been seeing this in movies a lot, is like Marion kisses Sala, like when they're about to get on the boat, and she like just, and it's like a real kiss. It's not like, oh, I love you, like peck.
Yeah.
And it's like, even I feel like if someone that we knew was just like, oh, when I say goodbye to people, I just kiss them like really quick on the lips. I feel like that would not go over well. She's like really kissing him, and Indy's just like, I'm cool with it. This is cool.
Just
So
rolls with it.
1936, free love, fucking the dawn of justice. What is going on? I don't know what to make of that. I feel like I've been seeing that in a lot of movies lately. I don't know what to think. I also feel like the arc it's a great weapon, right? It melts people's faces.
Yeah.
Powerful. However, there's a flaw to this weapon, which all you have to do is close your eyes and it doesn't affect you. You just wait for it to be over. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what combat experience you got, Kev, but, if you close your eyes, punches still work.
But I mean, it's supposed to be like this awe-inspiring thing. You're supposed to want to look into it, what it's all based on. Again, it's all about your hubris and what you want to see in it. And it's too powerful, and it melts your face.
It's a touche, Kev, touche.
What do you think about the last shot of this movie?
Which is
the art getting put away and a vast thing is never to be found again.
I did want to talk about that. That's an appropriate response. I think they play it as if like the professor guy's like, oh, they don't know what they're doing with the power and all that. Indy's upset and Marion, whatever. I think it's an appropriate thing to do with it. You can't get rid of it, but you can't really hold on to it. It's way too powerful so you stick it in a warehouse somewhere.
So is that like the ultimate, of anything of that kind of caliber, we just gotta put it away and forget about it.
Yeah.
Basically. So, because we've seen what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the madness that it causes for people to hop all over the world for it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people criticize that ending, and I just think, like you said, it's just the right, perfect note to end on.
Right. It's like,
we gotta just get rid of this thing.
Right. And we can't throw it away.
Yeah, it's too big, it's too big, it's too valuable, it's too important.
Right.
But we can't just let anybody get it either.
Right.
So it goes in to the
So what do people
fields.
want? With the U.S. Army to use it? For them put it in the Smithsonian?
Exactly. It's put it away. It's too
Put it-
powerful.
Hey, put it up. That's all there is to say about it. In terms of what this movie's about, last thing before we get out of here, what do you think the movie's about?
I think it's about having an adventure, doing your own thing, and like I said, not succumbing to hubris in a way, because I feel Indy is all about, his thing is that thing belongs in a museum. He's all about protecting artifacts and keeping them out of the wrong hands, not just like getting money or getting power from it. I think that's a through line he's always kept. So it's a thing about preserving history without misusing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think first and foremost, this movie is just meant to be a lot of fun.
It is. I do think that there's an element of it being about Indy becoming a believer from being a non-believer. Because when he first meets the army, there's a lot of exposition, a lot of really good exposition. And he says, they're looking at the Ark of the Covenant in the book, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Lightning, fire, power of God," or something, like very dismissively. Uh-huh. And then when he gets the gig, his boss is like, "Be careful, this is nothing like you ever dealt with before." And he says, "I don't believe in magic hocus pocus." But by the end, he's the one who says, "Marion, close your eyes."
Yep.
And he knows what's going to come. So I just feel like, I don't know. That is something going on there. You know what I mean?
For sure. But I mean, as we know in the subsequent movies, he's not some like devout believer all the time. So,
but safe to say,
even though he literally runs into the last night of the crusade in the last crusade,
you think that would blow his mind a little bit more, but he seems nonplussed by it.
Drinks the cup of Jesus, and but yeah, nothing shocks Indy.
he's just over it. In the end, I think it's easy to say that we both like this movie and it's fucking great. And at the end of the day,
I'm picking it up on Blu-ray. It needs to go on my shelf.
It's really a lot of fun.
This is one of those rainy day movies. You got nothing to do. Get yourself a little cocktail. Watch some Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's great. It's almost a perfect movie, and I think it's really one of the best Spielberg movies. And you could argue is the best Spielberg movie.
I wouldn't say the best, but it's in his top 5.
I'd say it's in contention.
On pure construction and shot language and storytelling alone, it's second to none.
And in a, hey, let's watch a movie.
You can never go wrong.
You can't go wrong with this one.
It'll liven up any situation.
Yep. This episode written by me, Mr. Jibber Jabber. Music by Jeff Russell. I was your host. Kev is your host.
Indeed.
For me and for Kev,
go exploring. Watch out for snakes.